All right, let's look at our mixer section. So let's play all of these. And then you know, I don't like how loud sort of feel like that's the wrong note in there, but all right. This is super straightforward. All we have is muting, delay, and reverb, and a compressor. We don't need to talk about how compressors work right now, but if you have it on, it's a sweet, good ratio, good setup. Not mad. The delay and reverb sends, I feel like in the future, when you have an external MIDI controller with some sliders and some knobs, mapping these to have a little guy to do all this instead of tabbing around is going to be nice, but go to the delay. Cool. Let's go launch that guy. Let's go to our mixer, reverb. Let's crank the reverb on this guy and then launch. One of the things I'm going to show you right now too is when you're using these independent outputs, your track screen, take your sub bass, do configure track, and that's where you choose your output. So say you wanted to send that to your mix alone and EQ it on the mixer, do that. So watch, if I send this to output 2, and then I go over here and launch that, that's actually quietly running on a whole nother mixer. And I do have it EQ'd. So that's just, and you see it, you get a little readout, right? Let's go back to track, configure track. Let's do output 3. You hear another EQ on my mixer from that. So all very practical. This is not the most exciting segment of these videos, but the mixer section currently is a good, straightforward utility. I am excited for MIDI control over it in the future because I prefer faders, sliders for volume, and then sort of multiple knobs to do reverb and delay sends. And no panning in this section to make note of, but you can pan individually and all this stuff. So don't complain about it. Anyway, let's listen real quick to the effects, the master effects, the modulation effects. So, and we're actually going to do that on our granular guy, because if you look at your outputs here, tracks, configure track, output 1 with mod effects. That means it's actually going to run to your headphones as well as output 1 on the mixer. So just make note of that. You can't have output effects on the other 2 outputs. So we set that to output 1 with mod effects. Let's go to our launch. And now flanger. Distortion. chorus. I'm not a big flanger guy. Do like chorus. You've got the delay and the reverb. Don't know if we need to hear that, but phaser. And important, this is where you edit your delay type and your reverb type and the parameters around those. A good example of that would be to turn this guy on. Let's go to effects. We've got, crank that feedback. Let's turn off beat sync. Just listen to that weirdness. Okay. All right, so here's a good way to listen to the delay. Our slicer track is going to the delay, and then we've got beat sync on right now, which, you know, you could change your divisions here. Some pretty standard stuff here. Feedback, you got a filter that you can turn on. Which is nice. Nice to filter out some of those highs. That's the width of your ping pong. And then with the beat sync off, you get some pretty wild like if this is at a, I don't even want to know what happens if when we're going to hear that. Yeah, I don't know. It was a long time. So that's the delay. Reverb, you've got a handful of different styles. Tight ambient. And for this example, I'm actually going to go to the mixer, and it'll sound good to use a drum sound. So let's turn the delay off and then crank the reverb for this same track. Great. All right. Effects. Tight ambient. We've got time level, your high cut, low cut, pre-delay, freeze, which I'm trying to freeze it. I guess it's hard to, well, I'll do another one. Bright room. Okay. Large room. And obviously we're just going through. Yeah, this wide slap is nuts sounding. Notchy ambient. Rezo room. Marble hall. I feel like this is where freeze is going to come into play here. Told you. And then we have chamber, dark hall, small hall, gated, awesome for percussion, arena, long bright, gravitas, freeze. Sounds like an air conditioner. Clouds. Homage to mutable. And that's it. All right, guys. On to the next.